to Leitner. Puts it up.
You're listening to the Culture State Podcast.
Get ready. Woo!
All right, Monday Night Raw was this week in Raleigh, North Carolina.
Yeah,
Dennis Cox and I were there. We had really good seats. It was called the best Monday Night Raw in a year.
Yeah.
By a lot of folks online.
That's the buzz going online right now, Chris. And speaking of those seats, thank you for them. I really do appreciate that.
Oh, no problem, sir. This mic right here was a great birthday present from you to me. Wow. And that was a birthday present to you from me. So, this is what we do around here, man. Culture State.
Take care of
each other.
Exactly. We do around here. But Raw was a great time. And it definitely it's gotten some national buzz, what you're talking about. And one of the best live shows. Again, there haven't been live crowds in wrestling for a while, obviously because of the pandemic, but they've been on the road now for a couple of months. And this was one of the better shows that they've put together in a long time. It just happened to be right here in Raleigh, North Carolina.
And it seems like, and here's something else that wasn't lost on me as well. If you watch Monday Night Raw, if you watch SmackDown, SmackDown has the blue ropes. Raw has the red ropes. They had the white ropes for this. Yeah. And it looks like that they're going to start getting back to the idea of maybe having more movement between shows. Maybe there will be certain, show specific folks, but then there'll be some folks that can go between shows. And so that was something small that I noticed watching them going from the red ropes to the white ropes, which lets me know that they're probably going to have a little bit more movement coming up here soon. So, but it was a great show. Had a chance to see, there's a lot of North Carolina connections there. We saw Cedric Alexander early on doing main event. We saw Charlotte Flair. She was there, you're gonna hear from in just a second. And we heard last week's guest, friend of the program, Jeff Hardy. He was there as well. So a lot of North Carolina happening in that show last night.
And there's just a lot of deep history, not only just wrestling in North Carolina, which we talked about, but specifically in Raleigh. Our guest last week, the first ever TLC match with the Hardy Boys was right at PNC Arena, where you stand for your newscasts every single night in WRAL Studios on Western Boulevard. Ric Flair, the father of our guest, Charlotte Flair, had his feud with Ricky Steamboat start right in that studio, which is one of the most known feuds in professional wrestling history. Started right where you are. And it's also right down the road from Dorton Arena, which used to be the place to go to for indoor events in Raleigh before PNC Arena was built. So there's so much history of just professional wrestling and entertainment that has taken place right here in the capital city.
And just in general, though, like we talked about that feud starting there at WRAL. WRAL is one of the more famous studios that wrestling was taped in, especially when it comes down to the Mid-Atlantic wrestling that was taped there. It was a favorite. And so it was just one of those places that has a lot of memories for a lot of people. When I announced that I had the job at WRAL, that was one of the first things that people said to me was like, man, I went there growing up as a kid to go to wrestling events. Or I used to watch wrestling events at WRAL wishing I could be there. So there's a lot of history in Raleigh in general. And then, with the place we're at. And one thing I think is interesting as well, still talking about wrestling, but getting off of the history, but maybe this will be a part of the history, is Dennis Cox trolling teenage girls at wrestling events. I wish you guys could have been there with teenage girls cheering for certain people. And Dennis Cox is there talking mess to them. Yeah, this is what you get.
Okay.
The person you're cheering for sucks.
They were cheering for one female wrestler, the same female wrestler you were cheering for. And I just happened to like the other opponent better. So I was cheering for her. So, and guess who won? My favorite wrestler did.
And you put it in their face, and these are just teenage girls.
Did.
And this is
your face.
You went against these teenage girls so hard, man. Like it's just you really are turning into a heel. You are a heel now. Straight up.
Whatever. Not everyone can be the hero, Chris. Not everyone can be the hero.
Oh my gosh. No, but it was a fun time, but it's also fun to see this guy you know, become the adversary of teenage girls during a wrestling event. But we did see Charlotte Flair. She is the daughter of Ric Flair. Amazing pro wrestler. She is currently 11 times a women's champion. Is that right? 11 times?
Yeah, sounds about right.
Her dad was famously known to be a 16-time world champion. Mm-hmm. She's only 5 away from him. She's only 5 away. And, she's doing things in the ring that Ric Flair probably could never dream of doing.
Oh, yeah.
And she's doing it while elevating women's wrestling from the bathroom break to the main event in most cases for WWE right now. So enjoyed having this time. You're going to hear references in this interview towards Monday. This was taped before Monday Night Raw actually happened on September 20th. But, there's still a lot that is still timely in, her journey, learning about her and just different things and how she got to this level and just her love also for the state of North Carolina since she grew up in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Well, let's not wait further, Chris. Charlotte Flair right after this.
Monday Night Raw on Monday, the 20th, Raleigh, North Carolina, and somebody who knows Raleigh, North Carolina very well, Charlotte Flair. First off, I just have to say props to you. I'm a fellow Aries. I'm April 10th, 1986. So, we're, Aries people are just like really cool people. So I know that you're a good person and you're from North Carolina. It's just icing on the cake. Right.
I post my horoscope sign or like Aries traits all the time on my Instagram so people can understand me better.
Exactly. I feel like I already understand you. I want to ask a little bit about your time in Raleigh, going to NC State. Do you identify more as a Mountaineer, more as a Wolfpack, a little bit of both?
I guess a little bit of both.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, maybe a little more of a Mountaineer because I was able to enjoy the sports scene a little more at App, and it was my freshman year was the first year App had won the national championship for the 2A. What is it, 2A for the football team? Mm-hmm. So it really felt like that, I felt that Mountaineer pride. But I grew up going to NC State for camps, and I think I just got to enjoy the college life more when I was at App. And NC State, I was just like finishing up school.
Got you. Yeah, like? You're beating up on my UNCG Spartans while you're at Appalachian State too.
Yeah.
I was going to ask, what was it like playing in Boone? What was it like playing at App State in volleyball? That is.
It was awesome. I mean, my best friend who graduated 2 years before me, he was from Charlotte, actually ended up going on a full ride to Tennessee. And then the year I was recruited and went in as a freshman, she had blown out her knee and left Tennessee to come play with me at App. Because Tennessee, I think, was like top 5. App was like top 75. So that freshman and sophomore year there with my best friend was just, we just had so much fun. Like it was like back like when we were playing club in high school. We didn't go to the same school. Our schools played each other, and we were super competitive with each other. But it was like club again. It was awesome.
So you will be in Raleigh on Monday, and I want to know, what are some of your favorite memories from either you personally wrestling in North Carolina, or either growing up watching wrestling in North Carolina? When you come to the state and you get a chance to get into the ring, what are some of the best memories that go through your head?
So when I think of Raleigh, I think of when my dad had a ladder match with Edge, and I brought some of my teammates with me to watch him my freshman year. Or was that? Yeah, it was it was either my freshman or sophomore. No, it was my freshman, because we were able to go, so we must have not been in season. So yeah, that was a big night for him in Raleigh. But I guess as a whole in North Carolina, when I won the SmackDown Women's Championship from Natty and Charlotte. But I feel like wherever I go in North Carolina, it feels like Flair country. So, I mean, you could be in any city and it's special.
Exactly.
Yeah.
For sure. It's interesting where Chris does his sportscast every single night at WRAL Studios is where your father's feud with Ricky Steamboat actually started.
Yeah.
So it's amazing how it all ties together. Speaking of your dad, obviously you carry the Flair name, but your work stands for itself. How important was for you to make sure that you made a name for yourself as Charlotte, not just the daughter of Ric Flair?
I feel like I'm still trying to do that. I think anyone who watches the product, knows I stand alone.
Yeah.
But I feel like my dad is such an icon and has crossed over to pop culture and is still relevant to this day for his larger than life personality, that if you're not really familiar with the product and you hear he has a daughter that wrestles as well, you might not know just that I'm better than him. So I'm constantly gonna have that, like, I hope one day, it is Charlotte's dad, because I do feel like if you're not familiar with the industry, it is very easy just to go, oh, Ric Flair's daughter wrestles, but they have no idea the impact that I've had on the industry as a whole, as a woman, in terms of gender equality. Because no one was like, oh man, she was a good wrestler for a woman. They're like, oh, she's good regardless.
And your dad never did moonsaults off the top rope to the outside to a bunch of people either. Probably one of the more impressive moonsaults in the business for sure.
Yeah.
I wanted to talk to you a little bit more about, I guess, getting your start in wrestling. I wrestled just for like a little cup of coffee at CWF Mid-Atlantic and wrestled with Trevor Lee and No Way Jose and those guys. And around those times, I got a chance to be around Lodi a lot. And I know he was the guy that really got you started as far as your training. What was it like in the early days of just beginning the first roll arounds and bumps?
So I was just with Lodi like maybe 4 times.
Okay.
That's how many times I was in a ring before reporting to NXT.
Oh, wow.
It was me, my little brother Lodi, and my dad.
Okay.
So it wasn't like a year of training. It was a couple sessions, and I ended up breaking my nose, the sunset flip with Lodi. So I was like, oh, I'm not doing this. But I reported like a couple of weeks later. So yeah. Lodi's awesome. But at that time I had no idea what was happening. Like, just clueless. Totally clueless. I don't even think I took a bump when I was with him in the practice ring at High Spots in Charlotte.
So you're talking about going down to NXT, then obviously where you are now on the main roster, women's champion of Raw. So question is, what is next in the evolution of Charlotte Flair? What is next for you? Like who's out there that you want to wrestle that you know might be a good contender for you?
Oh man. Well, I think SmackDown now has a new crop of women. So after the draft, the WWE draft, if and when we have one, I'll be looking forward to mixing that. I've had the opportunity to work with Rhea. She's amazing. I've never worked, well, I mean, I've worked with Bianca, but not on Raw or SmackDown at NXT one time. So I think it's just getting those reps with the newer girls that have come up. Like, I know there's Shotzi, Tegan, not Tegan. Yeah, isn't it Tegan?
Yeah, Tegan Knox.
Tegan Knox. And a few other girls that are just, waiting, that I don't even think they've announced that are they're bringing the SmackDown. So it's just getting in the ring with them on Raw or SmackDown and going from there. Because you never know, when you get there, either you sink or you swim.
Right. You've had a chance to, as you said, be in the ring with so many great female athletes, but then also, like, you've been on the forefront of the women's evolution in wrestling. And there's been plenty of times in the last 3-4 years where the Charlotte Flair match or the Becky Lynch match or the Bianca Belair match or the Sasha Banks match is the best match of the night. Do you feel like women still don't get their just due as pro wrestlers right now in the industry? How far do we still need to go?
No, because when Raw went back live in front of live audiences, I was the main event 4 weeks in a row in the storyline with Nikki ASH, which people, I mean, didn't really say anything. But like, we're main eventing Raw right now, and we're just now back, and no one's going, oh wow, they're in the main event. It's normalized. So if someone has the better story, sure, they're going to get more screen time, but I believe the better story gets more attention. So wherever that, takes us, but no one's going, oh yeah, but I main evented 4 weeks in a row. Like, I think it's completely normalized. It's just catching fire with a storyline that, deserves that spot.
So in the ring, when you're talking about getting reps with some different people, if you can take us behind the scenes a little bit, how do you actually continue to train now that you're back out on the road to make sure that your body is where it needs to be to put on these continuous 4 or 5 star matches?
I think once you get to a certain level, you don't, if you want to learn a new move, maybe you'll go train, but now I'm wrestling Saturday, Sunday, Monday, sometimes Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. So I feel like I'm more crisp than ever. But if I want to learn a new move, maybe on my off day, I'll go to a ring practice. But in terms of, reps, I'm getting a lot right now.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's been amazing to watch everything. Also, another thing that I'm a big fan of are the robes. Tell me, like, how much are you spending per robe? I mean, those, you got to be dropping some cash on those things.
I'm gonna be working forever. Or just have to sell them one day.
I'm sure you could make a lot of money if you sold them and autographed them. People would definitely want those.
Dad, why did you give me such an expensive gimmick? Oh,
I guess you really have to live the part then.
No, it's really worth it, because I feel when you invest in yourself, the fans feel that and see that. So it's just part of it,
Yeah.
You call designs?
I'll just assume that they cost a lot. Then.
They're a lot, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're a lot.
And do you come up with the designs, or do you have someone else that has input on making those?
I just talk to my gear guys. They're 2 guys, and I kind of say, okay, I want this idea, and then they draw it up, and we're like, yeah, let's do it. I give them the creative liberties to come up with what they think will look best.
I wonder, with how well you've been doing, have you reached the level of fandom to where it's tough to even go out and just have like a normal day? Go out to eat on an off day. It's a Wednesday and there's nothing to do. You just want to go out and have something to eat, or go out to a bar, have something to drink. Is that tough for you? Have you reached that level to where you can't even do that anymore?
I feel like most people don't recognize me in person.
Okay.
I'm not walking around with a robe or peacock feathers or in makeup. I have like a ponytail and gym clothes on.
Yeah.
I do get a lot, oh, I know you're somebody. Or you work out a lot. Like, I get that, but I can go way undercover way more than my dad, because like his hair stands out everywhere. But for me, it's without all the I just usually get, I know you're somebody, who are you?
Right.
Or people are just like super intimidated, and then later I'll see a tweet, oh my God, I saw you at Target. Which like, oh yeah, does it ever get tiring when people go like woo to you or anything like that in the airport or anything? It's been my whole life.
Yeah.
I'm so used to it. There's not phased anymore.
Got you.
Well,
we're excited definitely to see you Monday. Dennis and I will definitely be in attendance. And
me too. I'm excited.
Yeah, Raleigh is always a special place to watch some wrestling. Is there a place that you have to visit when you come back to Raleigh that maybe you went to back in college, your college days?
Usually it's so fast, like I'm in and out. But what I'm really excited about is I'm taking my nephew and my niece and my big brother on the whole loop with me. So I'm going North Charleston Saturday, Sunday, Augusta, Georgia, Monday, Raleigh. So my niece and my nephew and my big brother will be with me the whole time. So that's what I'm more excited about than anything.
That's
just
awesome.
having them with me. Yeah.
Well, awesome. Thank you so much for your time. We're excited to see you Monday, and you're in a great program right now, with Alexa Bliss, and we're excited to see where this goes. And of course, we know that you are better in the ring, and you stand on your own. I could definitely say that.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
We want to thank Charlotte Flair and WWE for giving us some time and allowing her to, spend some time on the Culture State podcast. And this was a really great and insightful interview. What's interesting? I always knew she went to Appalachian State, but it was when this interview was set that I found out she spent some time at NC State. I don't know how that escaped me and that went past me, but it's crazy that she's also part of the Wolfpack.
Yeah. Yeah, she's got ties to both eastern and western parts of the state, which I kind of regret not asking the question. All right, which barbecue do you prefer? Like, the Eastern or Lexington style? Just because you've probably experienced both, being where you're from. With the fact that you could tell her athleticism, being a former college volleyball player when she was at App, it shows in the ring. She's one of the most naturally gifted athletes in the ring, male or female, that's come across in the last 20 years, easily.
Absolutely. I mean, Ric Flair wasn't a bad athlete himself.
No, he wasn't.
Before wrestling, he was a football player. So it's runs in the family. Her brothers were also great athletes as well. But she probably got it a little bit better than them, and it's showing right now. So she's definitely doing her thing. And I wonder, she told us right here on the podcast that she had family going with her on this loop. So I wonder how they ended up liking everything and seeing her get to perform, live in Raleigh.
One thing you did mention, Chris, before we played the interview here with Charlotte, was how women's wrestling for a long time used to just be, okay, time to go use the bathroom, time to go grab a drink, whatever it was. Now it's the main event. It's actually oftentimes the must-see show or must-see part of the show. And she has been the forefront on some of the first ever matches that women have been a part of in WWE, such as Hell in a Cell matches or ladder matches, whatever it may be. She's been in those and has been the forefront of what they call the women's revolution. She's been one of the early people. I know AJ Lee was one of the first ones to do it, but it was her, Sasha Banks, Bayley, Becky Lynch. They were all part of that women's revolution that started in WWE 7-8 years ago. And she's still at the forefront, and she's a main eventer, and there's no doubt about it that and what she's done, she's main evented a WrestleMania, and there's reason for that. And the way that they've built up women's wrestling, it's just, again, it's not a bathroom break anymore.
Yeah, Dennis, and it was cool to see also, in Raw that we went to, you had the segment where you were trolling the teenage girls, but that was the women's match. And then it was the promo segment with Charlotte and Alexa Bliss right after that. And so literally, that's something that you wouldn't have done on WWE Raw 10 years ago. Maybe not even 5 years ago, to have two separate women's programs go back to back on the show like that. And that really shows how much they've come up. And it's not just women's wrestling anymore. It isn't just, ladies who look good, who are, dressed in small clothing or whatever. it's not just that. These women are actually out here, really performing and doing a great job. And then there was another women's match as well between Doudrop and Eva Marie.
And we also had a women's tag team championship match as well. So there are 4 segments on the show that involve women's wrestling.
Well, that's what I was referring to first. The women's. Oh, wait a minute, I forgot about that. No, yeah, I didn't talk about. So yeah, it was 4. You're right.
So yeah, the tag team match, which is awesome, and and what they do in the ring, it's no different than what the guys do. It really isn't. And as a wrestling fan, we just want to see great wrestling, whether it's men or women. We just want to see great wrestling and great stories being told, and they do it as good as anyone.
Absolutely. I mean, if you've seen some of the things that Sasha Banks and Bayley and Becky Lynch and Charlotte herself and Bianca Belair even did down at NXT, and then also what they've brought to the main roster is great. So shout outs to Charlotte Flair, shout outs to the women's revolution in pro wrestling, and also shout outs to WWE for allowing us to do that interview. 2 great interviews back to back from WWE. Something tells me you'll hear more from Culture State and WWE in the future.
Just might.
Thank you guys for listening to the Culture State podcast. If you could, please rate us, give us 5 stars. We highly appreciate that. And tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend to listen to the show.
Oh, and check us out Saturday mornings on 99.9 The Fan or WRAL Sports Fan. 10 to noon live, Culture State Saturdays. We're on the air.
Yep. And it's a fun time as well. We'll see you there.
The Culture State Podcast, part of the Capital Broadcasting Podcast Network, with new shows coming out every Wednesday. Download and subscribe from wherever you get your podcasts, including the WRAL Sports Fan app.